Okay. So last class I was just telling you about the static methods, different types of methods, method modifiers we're talking about. So when you talk about the method modifiers, we discussed what is called the static method we discussed. There are different types of method modifiers are there for you. So one is a static, other one is final, other one is synchronized, other one is abstract. These are the four different types of method modifiers. You can define them, how the method should be like. When we say that the static method, we know that yesterday we have seen an example where the static methods are going to be called for, we can call the static methods without creating the instance of the class. Remember, very important thing is when you talk about the instance variables, each instance variable will be occupying separate memory space it will be occupying. So whereas when you talk about the static variables, if you are defining or what you call the static member variables, you are declaring it inside a class, then they are going to be shared between the multiple objects. That means if I'm creating 3 or 4 objects from one class and if I'm having a static member in this one, then the memory is going to be shared by the static member for all the objects. Okay, that we have seen example, we have seen it in last class, we have seen the example. Okay, now let us talk about, we have something what we call static blocks also, we have it. So we have one is called the static methods that we have seen it yesterday, and we have one more thing what we call static blocks. Now let me start a new file and start new Java program and start it. I'm starting a class. Next, okay, I want to have a public method there. I want to have public static void main. Okay, I'm going to define the name of my class. So let us say I'll write it as just static. I'll write. Then I'll say finish. So you'll see that it's going to create a new class. Okay, test static is a class name it is created. Now, very important thing you need to remember is the main method is also a static method. That means the main method is called by the JVM for us, or what you call the JRE. It is called by the JVM for us without creating the instance of this class called test static class. Right. Now, when I talk about them, so we have two different things when we are having it. So one is the static variables we are having it. So when you talk about the static variables, they share the memory between the objects. They share the memory between the objects. If I'm having multiple objects, the memory is going to be shared between them. Okay. So that means they'll have a common value will be there. So if I'm going to have the multiple objects are being created, all the multiple objects will have the common value when we are going to use a static variables. We have something what we call the static blocks are also there for us. Now, remember the code written, okay, in static block, the code written for the in static block, sorry, is executed before the main. Okay, it is executed before main. Now, for example, let's see this. I will take one example. So I want to write a method. I'll write system dot out dot println. Okay, I'll give a message. I'm in main block. In main block. So I wanted to show you like how the static block code is going to be executed for us. Right. So we know that when we execute this program, so the code is going to be executed. Now the execution of the code starts from the main for us. So let me run the code now. When we run the code, you see that in main block, you're going to see the messages in main block. Okay, that is in the main method for us. Now, after this, I want to have a static block. How we define the static block? Let's have a look at the static block. If you want to define the static block, you'll use a keyword called static, and then following that, okay, you're going to define the code there. You're going to write some block. So block of code you're going to write here. Now, so here what I do is I'll write simple message I'll print here. So system.out.println. So in block, in static block elements, I'll just give a message in the static block. So that means, as I said you that the static block code is executed before the main block. That is, when I'm going to see the output, first I should be seeing the output from the static block. So let's run the code and check. So when I say run this, now you see first you're going to get the message from the static block, then you're going to get the message from the main block. So that shows for me what the static block is executed before the execution of your main block, right? Okay. Now, I have a question. Like, can we have multiple static blocks? Yes, we can have multiple static blocks can be there. So I'll just do one thing. I'll copy this. Then I'm pasting the code now. So multiple static blocks are placed. Now, when you place the multiple static blocks, now which static block is going to be executed first means it is going to follow the same sequence as you have defined them. So for example, I'll say this one is static block 1. So I'll say this is static block 2. This is static block 3. I'm making it. Okay. So 1, 2, 3 blocks I'm having it. Now, when I run my code now, you see that the output you're going to get it from the first block, second block, third block. That means when I'm going to have multiple static blocks are going to be there, then they are going to be executed in the same sequence as they are present for me. Okay, as they are present for us, right? Okay, so that is what we're talking about. The static block code is written for whatever the code that is written for us in static block is executed. Okay, is executed before the main. So before the main program gets executed, the static block code is going to be executed for us. So that you have to remember. Static variables we have it, and we also have the static blocks are there for us. Okay. Then we have something called the final. So we have the one more method modifiers called final. So we'll discuss about this final. Okay. Now I'll start another new class. I'll save this one. I'll start another new class. I'm starting new. So I'm just starting a class now. One more class I want to have. So I want to have a main method in this one. Then I want to have the class name as just final. I'm writing. Okay, I'm writing this just final, and then I say finish. Now we see that the final methods are going to be created. Okay, we'll discuss the usage of the final methods. Okay, fine. We have, remember again, so when we talk about this, so we have the final variables are also there for us. We have the final variables as well as we have the final methods are also going to be there. So we have to, both are there. Methods are also there as well as variables are also there for us. Okay. So what is that final it talks about for me? Final says that the value of the variable cannot be, if I'm defining a final variable, okay, if I'm defining a final variable, then the value of the variable cannot be changed. The value of the variable cannot be changed. Right? The value of the variable cannot be changed for us. It will be something like your constant. It will be like a constant for us. Now, how do we declare the final variable? So for example, here I want to have one final variable, I want to have it. Then simply use a final. Okay, then data type. So what is the data type? I'll just write the syntax over here. So what is the syntax I need to follow is, so I'll be using the keyword called final. Then I'll be defining the data type. Then followed with the variable name you are going to define it. Now remember, when you talk about the final variable, it's better you initialize some value for the static variables. Sorry, for the final variables, you place some value for this one. Now, why I'm supposed to put a value for this one is, if I'm not placing any value, then it doesn't have any sense for us for using a final variable, because final variable values cannot be modified later. That means without any value, using a final variable is of no use for us. Okay. So I'm going to have final. I'm going to use a variable called int variable I'll take. So then you can have some variable can be defined. So with the set, the syntax is final data type followed by the variable name. For example, let us say that I'm writing a variable called pass mark. Okay, so I'm writing a variable called pass mark. So whose value I'm going to give it as 40. I'm giving it. Okay, then so we can make use of the normal. It's like a normal variable only, but only thing is you cannot change the value of this one. The only thing is we cannot change the value of this one. Now I want to print the value of the static variable. You can just print the static variable value. Value of, okay, the final variable, right, is equal to. So I'm just using plus symbol there and I'm calling the pass mark variable. The variable is there called pass mark. Okay, I use this one. I'm trying to print the value of this one here. Let me run the code. Okay, so we gave the capital M there. Okay, so let me run the code. So once I run it, now you see that the variable value is going to be printed as 40 for me here. Now let us say I want to change the value of that variable. So then the pass mark is equal to something else. I'm going to have the variable change value I'm making it. And then, so when I run my code now, you'll see that the error will be given for you. So it says that the final variable value cannot be assigned. Okay. It says that it cannot be assigned, that you cannot change the value. That's what it says. It must be blank and not using a compound assignment. Basically, what the summary of this one exception is, it says that you cannot use the final variable. That is, you cannot change the value of the final variable cannot be changed. That's what it says for us. Okay, that has to be remembered. Here, it is going to error is going to be generated. Right. So if I'm trying to use the static variable, then it will be generating the error for us. Okay. So you understood now the static variable. That's how you are going to declare the static variables. You are going to declare it. Okay. One naming convention that you have to remember is, generally we'll follow a naming convention that we use capital letters for the final variables. Why do we use the capital letters for the final variables? Means only for the differentiation purpose. Like how I'm having a normal variable and I'm having a final variable are there. So both look the same way. So that doesn't give, okay, that doesn't differentiate between the static variable, between the final variable and a normal variable doesn't make any difference. So to avoid that one, so generally, so we use capital letters, will be using it. So you use caps there. So why we are going to use the caps means to differentiate from the normal variable. So I'll use a variable called pass mark like this. So okay, so we use a variable called the pass mark. So I'm using a capital letter there. So when I'm using capital letter, it has some special so this is having some special something else, what you call the special meaning is going to be there for that. So that's what it means for us. Okay. So it is going to have your attraction towards it. So it is a capital letter. And then whenever I see that capital letter, I'll understand, okay, this is something, a special variable, or maybe it's a special constant or something like that. Okay, so you need to pay attention towards it. So that is what, so I'm using them as a capital letter. Capital letters, I'm going to use it for the name when I'm using it, so that I understand that that is a special kind of variable there. So what I'm talking about here is, I'm saying it's in a constant value whose value cannot be changed. So that's the reason why it's always preferred. So the naming convention I'm going to follow. Okay, so the naming convention. So what is the naming conventions we are following is we prefer to use caps. Okay, right. Okay, that is something about your static variable. Sorry, final variable. Now we can also have the final methods also can be there. We can also define the final method. So final methods also are there for us. Now, what is this final methods for us? Final methods generally we have seen in case of inheritance. So we have seen a concept called inheritance where we define a new class from the existing class, right? From the existing class. Okay, you're defining a new class from an existing class. This is what we call inheritance. Now, for example, we had seen previously, we have seen the example. So first we defined a class called personal. Okay, personal we define, and from this a new class is defined called employee class we took. Okay, then in the employee class what we are doing, so we are trying to redefine the methods. So what we did, so we had the personal class. So we had the personal class. So in the personal class we had a method called set data method was there. Okay, we defined the set data method, and then in employee class, okay, in employee also we defined the set data method we have defined. So this is the normal way of doing things. Now let us say that set data method what you're defining that should not be redefined or it should not be modified for me in my subclass. Then what I do is I use a final key. Final is used to prevent the function or the method being overloaded or overridden, being overloaded for us. Okay, the method being overloaded, we are protecting it, the method being overloaded, or we call it as redefining it. Okay, you are going to have the new definition of this one in the subclass. Now, I don't want to have that one, the new definition should not be there. So that method should be final, means once I'm defining it, you should not change this definition. I don't want you to change. Then, so what I'm doing is I'm using the final methods, we are going to use it. So final methods will not be allowed for you to override the things. So I'll take one simple example I'll take here. Okay. I'll take a, I'll just write the same example. I'll take personal and employee, but I'll not be going in depth into that one. Okay, I'll just say it's a class called personal. Now I'm having it. Okay, now the class called personal, what I'm doing, I will have a method over here. So I'll have a method called, I'll just write this simple method I'm writing, set data method. Remember, I'm not writing the full example, I'm not writing, I'm just trying to use only the highlights part for this. So in this one, I'll write the system dot out dot println. So I'm writing the set data method of personal class. Okay. Now I'm having it. So generally what we did previously is we defined a class called employee we defined, where we said that it extends the class called personal. Okay, this is what we have taken the example previously. Now here what we did, we defined the set data method, we defined it, redefined it. So I'm redefining it. Okay. So this is what we did in the previous class. I'm writing the highlights of this. I'm not writing the full example. I'm not writing. Okay. So this is my employee class. Okay. Employee class set database. And then
Voice call from Raju sir.
So after this, what we did? Okay, sorry for that. Okay. After this, so I want to create the instances. You can do with instances, everything can be done. Okay. So I want to create the employee object. So employee E1, it's equal to new employee. Then I'll write E1 dot. So the set data method I'm having, set data method, if I'm calling it. Okay, let's see this when I'm going to have it. So when I'm calling this one, you'll see no such method. Okay, let me change to impersonal one. Set data method. Employee class 1. Employee 1. Okay, let me run. Okay, now you see that. So we are going to get the EMP class. Okay, set data there. Now we are going to get, that means the data, that the method that you are defined here in the base class is being modified, and you're going to have the change of the definition. You're going to have it. Now if I don't want to change the definition of my function, then what I can do is I can protect being modified, so by using a keyword called final. Okay, I was just telling you about the method there. So the method what you are defined called set data, it's been redefined for us in the subclass. So this is my subclass, right? I've done a redefining, I'm doing it. Now if I don't want that redefining to be done, so I want to protect it is being redefined. So I'll do one thing, I'll just copy this part. This is the normal thing what happens for you. Without using this final, it's going to be redefined for us. Now I want to protect it is being redefined. So what I do is I'll use the keyword called final over here. Okay, so before the class, this is the before the method name, I'm using the final there. So once I make it final, you see automatically this set data method is being underlined. The red wavy line is given for you to indicate that that is you cannot override that. If you just place the mouse pointer there, you'll see that message is coming there. You cannot override. I'll just little zoom in there. You can see now. So if I'm placing the mouse pointer over there, so now you see that the message is given for you cannot override the final methods from the class called the personal one, it says. Okay, right. So that's how. So once if I'm defining the method as final, then the method cannot be overwritten in the subclass for us. Let me compile the program and show you also. Okay, when I say run my program, so immediately you see that it's going to give me the messages are going to be, we are going to have the exception is going to be generated. So where it says that the method what you are defined called set data, it cannot be redefined. Okay. So you can see now the message is it overrides the final method. Okay, that you cannot do it, right? Okay, like that. So that is an error you'll be getting it, that the method, once you define a method as static, sorry, final, then it cannot be redefined. So the previous example, we are seeing without the final, we could override that one. That means you can have the new definition in the subclass. But when you are going to define it as when you define it as final, then the definition cannot be changed in the subclass for us. Okay, like this. Okay, so any questions you have, you can unmute your microphone and let me know. So otherwise it's okay. So Okay. So let us see one more we have. We'll discuss the synchronized little later. We'll talk about. We said method modifiers are static, final, synchronized, and abstract. Now, what do you mean by this abstract method? We'll discuss that. Okay. We'll talk about this synchronized little later. We'll talk about. We'll get back to the abstract now. Right. Okay. So I'll do one thing. I'll start a new program and start now. Okay. So another new program and start. So I'm trying to have a Java class there. Okay. So now, so the source folder and all, it asks me to select it. Okay, no problem. So I don't want to have, okay. I want to have a static method, main method. I want to have it in my program. And then, so I'm going to define test final. I'm defining a class called test final. Okay, I'm defining test final. And I say, what's wrong with this? So, test final already there. Oh, okay. Sorry. So we are going to create test abstract. So I'll just give the name test ABS. I'll give it. Okay. So the class I want to create called ABS class. Then I'll say finish this. So now we are going to have the ABS class. Now we are going to have it. Now, so we are going to talk about the abstract methods. So what are all these abstract methods for us? Okay. So we have the methods. We only have the abstract method. Variables are not there for me. So methods can be abstract for me. We can have the methods of the type abstract. Now comes a question, what are these methods are abstract ways? No, the name abstract says that okay, the word abstract says that what it's incomplete for us. Now remember, abstract says it is incomplete. Generally, when you are going to define the classes, okay, when I'm going to define the classes, okay, we have two types of classes people talk about. So one is called concrete class, they call it as. Okay, we call it as concrete class, or it's a complete class by itself. It's a complete, okay, it's a complete class. That means it has methods and variables. Okay, it has the methods, variables. That means it will be having methods and method definition. Okay, both will be there for me. So we'll have the method definition and method, both will be there for us, right? So we'll talk about the concrete class. Okay, now there are something called abstract classes. Okay, so we have the abstract, or we say it's an incomplete. When you say abstract class, it is what, as I said, that it is an incomplete class. What do you mean by incomplete? Means the abstract class, they have the method definition. Okay, they have the method definition. They have the method definition only will be there, but they don't have what you call the, sorry, method declaration will be there. Okay, that means only prototype will be there. You'll have the prototype, or what you call signature. Okay, the class, that is the abstract class, contains method declaration. Method declaration, you call it as declaration, or you call it as the prototype, or you call it as a signature. Method signature alone will be there, but the body of the method will not be there for us. Body will not be there for the methods for us. Now, then what about the body of it? So remember, the body of the abstract method has to be defined by the subclasses. Okay, so body of the abstract method Okay, body of the abstract method has to be defined in subclass arrays. Let's see this. We'll talk about them more. So we have the static methods. We have discussed that. Okay. Then so we'll talk about static. We have discussed. Now we talked about the final part. Now we are going to talk about the abstract methods. Now, when you talk about the abstract methods, now remember for defining the abstract method, we are going to use a keyword called abstract. We are going to use it, and then whenever you are defining an abstract method, so the method which you are defining as an abstract that must be defined or that its definition must be provided in the subclass for us. So how do you define this abstract methods means we use a keyword called abstract, then type, that is a return data type, followed with the name of the method, and you can have the parameters for it. Okay. So remember, any class, if you're going to define an abstract method, then the class also must be defined as abstract. So we cannot just say the class name, but we have to define it as an abstract class. Okay. So when you talk about the abstract methods, remember the abstract method, you cannot create the instances of the abstract methods. Okay, you cannot create the instance of the abstract method. That means, like as you are done in the normal classes, now these classes you cannot create the instances. That is, variables cannot be created from that particular class. Okay, and other important thing is the abstract classes cannot contain the constructors and the static method. You cannot have the static methods and you cannot have the constructors. Can you guess why constructors are not allowed in these abstract classes? Can you guess why the constructors are not allowed in the abstract classes? Can you guess? Yes, one of you try it. Why constructors are not allowed in the abstract classes? So here is a definition for them. When you're telling here, it's the first line when you talk about this one. So here what we are telling, we say that the abstract class cannot be instantiated. That is, you cannot create the instance of a class. Why do we use the constructors? We use the constructors for initializing the variables and all that. When you cannot create the instance of a class itself, then so what is the use of the constructors? No, you don't use the constructors at all like that. Okay, right. Now the other thing is, what any method that is being defined as an abstract there, okay, then that has to be implemented or its definition has to be provided for us in the subclass. It becomes mandatory. Now what if I don't provide the definition of the abstract class, abstract methods in the base class means, then again the subclass also becomes a abstract for me. That means what, you cannot create the instances of the subclass also, you cannot do it. Now let us take the example, we'll talk about them. Okay, now I'll just try to use the same example what we are talking about. Okay, right. So I'll just take the example. I'll try to take only the simple example. I will take it. Then we'll discuss how where exactly we use them and all that. We'll talk about that one. Now let us say that I want to create a class called student there. I'm just creating a class called stu there. Okay, in this class called student. Before I talk more about this one, let me explain you this. What I mean is, what is the example we are taking. I'll explain it first. So we would like to have one class called student class, and then from this class we'll create a class called 10th class student, right? So student is a generic class for me. So this is my student. So student is my generic. That means it's a general class. Now I want to have one specific class, okay, called student, okay, 1000. Okay, you can have one more class similarly like this. More number of classes can be there. Student, okay, let's say I want to have a class, a class called student btech, or so it's simply, okay, no, you don't want all this thing, right? So you can also give it as just, it's a class 10, okay, btech class student, like that. You can just sorry, just spelling mistake here. Okay, right. Now in this class called student, so what I want to do is I want to have some method. I want to have it. So what you call it as, the method is called calculate the result. Okay, I want to have a method called CALC result. This is my method. So what this method does is, so this is used for calculating the result. So for example, let us say, so how we are going to calculate the results now? Generally, you talk about a student. Let us say that you talk about a BTech student. So how do you calculate the result of a BTech student? Any idea? So how do you say the student is pass or fail? What is the minimum pass mark? What is the minimum pass mark for a student in the BTech? Is it I'm alone in the class? Can you tell me what is the pass mark? We got a message. Okay, 45, right? Now for this, the student, what I'm talking about, the BTech, okay, for the BTech student, right? So how I'm going to calculate my results there? So if I talk about this one, so when I say calculate result, so here the pass mark is 45. Okay, let's say it's a 45. What about class 10th here? So when I talk about the class 10, now here the same part I'm writing it CLC result function. Okay, so what is the pass mark for the student here is, the pass mark is 35. Let us take it as 35 here as a pass mark. Now, what about the student part? For the student, I'm going to write the calculate result. But what is the pass mark for it? It's a generic student, okay? It's a generalized one. So, what is the pass mark for each student means we cannot tell that. So, you need to tell. So, what is the pass mark depending upon the type of student? So, either you are having a BTech student or you are having a class 10 student. Based on that, you are going to define what is the pass mark you are going to define. But here, telling the pass mark for this particular generic student, there is no meaning in it. Okay, there is no meaning here saying that what is a generic pass mark here. Now for this one, now what I do is then, so I'll make this method, okay, as abstract. Okay, I'll make this method as abstract now. So once I make this method as abstract, then what does it? It means what? Any method that is being defined as abstract in my base class, that is in my class called student there. Okay, I'll make this as abstract class. So this also should be defined as abstract. So you define it as abstract student. Then what happened? We said what any method, any class that is being defined as an abstract, and you are creating a class from that one. You're defining another class, you're defining it, right? Okay. So then what you need to do with? So this class must provide the definition of this one. The calculate result function, the definition you're going to define it here. And then you're going to define what is the pass mark for that one. Right? Able to understand? The method what I'm having it here called the calculate result, which is there for me in my base class. Now my student is acting as a base class and student 10 is acting as a subclass. I'm trying to create from this one, from this student, I'm creating this one. Okay. Now in such a case, what will happen is when I'm defining this one as an abstract method, that means, so here I'm not providing any definition for me. For how to calculate the result, we are not telling it. I'm leaving the definition of this one to the subclass. So if I want the definition to be provided mandatory, it has to be provided by the subclass. Then, so you have to make it as an abstract. And when you make it as an abstract, it becomes mandatory for the subclass to define the definition of it. We'll take the example. We'll see the coding example, let's say. So what I'm doing, I want to have a class called student. Okay, in this one, I want to have the abstract method. So abstract method, I'm defining it as, then, okay, so I'll just say it's a wide result function, CALC result function I'm defining. Okay, I'm not defining any definition is not there. That is without implementation. This is only prototype or only signature part is there. This is only signature. Now, when I'm defining this one in an abstract class, then remember I need to define this one also as abstract. Okay, I need to define the class as abstract. Then, okay, I'll define a class called student, right? 10 class student, class student. I'm just saying stu10 I'm writing. So I'll just say this extends the class called stu. Okay, I've taken a class called stu10, which is extended from the class called stu. Now you see that, so as soon as you define this one, so it is going to highlight for me, that is it's going to get red wavy line, it says that, and it says that you have to have the inherited, the abstract method has to be inherited there. Now you have to define the definition of it. I'll say void CLC result, I'm defining it. Okay, let's okay, I'm defining the CLC result there. So I'll just say system dot out. I'm not writing the complete coding and all, I'm not writing it. I'm just writing the highlights of the codes there. So it is result is okay. I'll just put the pass mark over here. Pass mark is okay, we'll say 35 for this one, right? Okay, how about this another one? So let us say that you want to have one more class called stu btech, I want to say. Now this class again, it extends the class called stu class. Then so here I want to define the method. Now this method I need to define it. I'll just copy this, I'll paste it here. Then now this is my btech class, right? So btech, so pass mark is, I'll say it as 45. So what about this one? This is the class 10. So 10th class pass mark is 35, I'm writing it. Understood? So this is what the advantage of having the abstract classes. When I'm defining the class as abstract types, then it makes mandatory for the subclass to define the method there. So what is the method that I'm defining? I'm defining a method called calculate result. Calculate result is a method which is defined as abstract. It is not having any definition, that is implementation is not there for me. But what about the implementation part? Here we are going to have the implementation. You call this one as the implementation there. Okay, this is the implementation. You are defining it. So you are defining it. Okay, we are providing the definition for the function there. But whereas when you talk about the base class, in the base class we are just going to have only signature will be there, or what you call the declaration will be there, and in the subclass you are going to provide the definition of it. Now we can create the instances of all these classes can be created. So you can create the instance of stu10. So stu10, I'll say object s1 is equal to new stu10, I'm writing it. Okay, then so I can call the s1 dot the calculate result method. I'm going to call that. So when you run the program, you see that it's going to call the calculate method, it's going to call, and it's going to print me the pass mark. What is the pass mark for the 10th class student? So similarly, so I can try to create the object of the student btech object. Now if I'm trying to create the object of this one stu class, let's see what is going to happen here. So I'll try to create the object of stu there. So stu object, I'll say s2, I'll give it, it's equal to new stu, I'm writing it. Okay, so if I just try to run the program now, immediately you'll see that the object, you cannot create the instance of this, you'll be getting the message. See, the class cannot be instantiated, it says that. So what is that? So there is a compilation problem for you. What is the problem there for my compilation? It says that cannot instantiate the type called stu. So stu cannot be instantiated. That means you cannot create the object of the stu. The reason behind why, so you can see that the reason also it shows for me. So what is the reason it shows for me is you cannot create the instance of this one. Okay, because you are defined it as an abstract class. If you're going to have the abstract class, then you cannot create the instance of the classes where you are defining them as abstract. Okay, so remember, if a class contains one or more abstract methods, then its instances cannot be created for us. Understood? The instances of the classes cannot be created if it is having one or more. Okay, abstract functions are there. If it contains the abstract functions, then you have to define the class as a abstract. Remember, the abstract class can have normal functions also can be there. That means we can have the function declaration, or what you call the signature, with their body can also be there in the abstract classes. Okay, we can have both, right? The methods, declaration, and body also can be there for us. But so generally in the abstract class, we may be having one or more abstract methods will be there. When once a class contains the abstract method, then you cannot create the instances of it. For example, let us say I'm not providing the definition of this one. I'll do one thing. I'll just make a copy of this. Just get onto this. I'm putting as a remark there. Yeah. Now what I'm doing is I'm just removing this. Okay, I'll make this another remark. Okay, I'll make this one as a remark there. Once I make it as a remark there, so immediately see, I'll remove this. STU I'll remove. Okay, we know that STU you cannot create the instance of the STU class. Okay, I'll take the STU10 class I have taken now. You see that. So as soon as you are defining it here, now it says that what? So the STU10 must implement the inherited abstract method STU.calc result, it says, right? Understood? So immediately as soon as you are making it as a comment line over here, so it says that you cannot instantiate, you cannot create the class without the implementation of the abstract method. Now let us see when we run the program what is going to happen. I've created the object from STU10. Now it says that again what? So you cannot see it shows the message STU10 must implement the inherited abstract method STU.calc result. So if you're not providing the definition of that, now you cannot create the instance of the abstract class. Sorry, the subclass also you cannot create. That is what I said. So when you talk about the abstract methods, so in case of the abstract methods, any method that is being defined as abstract in the base class, it must be defined in the subclass. So if you're not defining it, that is if you're not providing the implementation in the subclass, then the subclass object also becomes a abstract class. Remember, when you talk about the abstract class, you can create the references of the abstract classes, but we cannot create the instances of the abstract classes. What do you mean by this means? Here, so we are creating both. The object creation is we are going to do it in one line. So what else? The other thing what you can do is you can have the reference can be created. For example, I'm having STU object is there. I'm writing some S. So this is called the reference. We can have the references can be created. So you see the references there. Okay, I'll just remove this. Now, if I'm just trying to compile my program, so it doesn't give me error for the reference. For the reference, it will not give the errors. Only if you are trying to create the instances, then it gives you the error. Okay, right. That you have to remember. We can create the references of the abstract class references we can create, but we cannot create the instances of the abstract classes like that.